and this puppy's in here tight. I can't pull that out of there. That way, once these things get loaded down, what's up, Lazy Dog fam? Hope all y'all are having an awesome day. It is Thursday, May 16th here in South Georgia, and we got to get a cucumber trellis put up ASAP before we get any more storms this weekend. So in today's video, we're going to check on some of our squash and cucumber plantings, see how those are doing, and then I'm going to show you an easy cucumber trellis. I'm going to put it all together, show you how we do it. So first, let's check on our cucumber and squash plants, and y'all just gonna have to bear with me because I do get easily distracted by these pretty looking tomato plants right here. But that's not the focus of today's video. We're talking about squash and cucumbers. So here's our 30-foot row of cucumbers. We've got this split down the middle. We've got Katrina on the front end of the row and then Supremo on the back end of the row. The leaves on these are looking pretty good, but we can also see a little bit of insect damage there, maybe a few little disease spots starting to pop up. I think that has a lot to do with how much rain we've been getting lately. I think I can get these to grow out of it. I think they'll be just fine, but you can tell by the size of those plants there, they need a trellis on them really soon. And then next to those cucumbers right here, we've got about 6 of these enterprise squash plants. Now these haven't started producing yet, but it looks like they will very, very soon. I'm liking the leaf color on these so far. Are getting a few little disease spots popping up, but I think much like the cucumbers, we can push them out of it or outgrow it a little bit. And then over here in the raised bed plot, we've got our first squash planting, or first zucchini planting, this Golden Glory variety. Got a few fruits there to harvest. We've been eating a lot of these already. Really tasty squash. We did lose one plant here to the dreaded squash vine borer. You can see some of that damage there. Now it hasn't completely wilted down all the leaves, but I don't think it's going to make it. I'm probably going to pull it up later today. Now, I'm not going to dig too deep into what works and what doesn't work to control that squash vine borer. Yes, there are things you can spray. I've even heard of people talking about doing surgery on the plant and removing the squash vine borer, and then the plant will recover. There's lots of different opinions out there. If you've got some tricks that work, share them in the comments below. But my philosophy is just plant more squash than you think you're going to need. Those 3 plants in that raised bed were probably more than we need here. The other night, I think I cooked 3 or 4 of these, and that was plenty enough for us. So I think there's one more I left out there. So I've got another good harvest here. We can eat some more of these tonight. So 2 plants of these is probably enough for us. And so plant more than you need, account for the squash vine borer, taking out a few of them, and also succession plant. So we've got that squash, the Golden Glory zucchini producing now. The Enterprise will be coming right behind it. So if those other 2 zucchini plants get taken down, we've got more ready to produce right here. So we just plan ahead, plant more than we need. And just as a quick reminder, because we do have all those seed varieties on our website, the Golden Glory zucchini and the Katrina cucumber are parthenocarpic. They don't need pollination, so if you struggle with pollination, those are great varieties to grow. The Supremo cucumber and the Enterprise squash do require pollination, but we've usually got plenty of bees around here to do that for us. But back to the task at hand here today, which is setting up a trellis for this row of cucumbers. We're going to be using a pretty simple trellis that we've used over the last couple years, and we don't need a whole lot for this trellis. All this stuff we had on hand already, so a few T-posts, some conduit there, a few PVC fittings, and then this Hortonova trellis netting. And so I really like this trellis we're about to install because it's strong, it works well, but the big reason is I don't have to go buy anything to put this together. I have everything on hand here. Those T-posts last forever, the conduit lasts forever, the PVC fittings last forever. Now this stuff, this trellis netting does not last forever. We throw it away at the end of the season, but I always keep a big roll of this on hand. It's just one of those things that I always need to make sure I have some of this laying around, so I just buy big rolls of it on Amazon. I know I've always got some, so I'm always ready to do some trellising. Now initially my plan was to do just one 30-foot long trellis. That's how long the rows are in this plot. One 30-foot long trellis, which would include 3 10-foot pieces of this conduit. But I have since changed my mind. I think I'm gonna do it a little differently because I know dang well this is way more cucumber plants than I need. So instead of just doing one 30-foot long trellis, I think we're gonna separate this out into 2 smaller 10-foot trellises. Now doing it this way is going to require me to cull some of these plants, but that's okay. Like I said, we got more here than we need. You can see some extra plants there between those 2 pieces of conduit. That's where it switches from one variety to the next. So I'm just going to pull those up right there, and we'll have our Katrina trellis down that way, and then we'll have our Supremo trellis down this way. And now with those plants pulled, you can kind of see what we're doing here. We've got a 10-foot section of those Katrina mini cukes and then a 10-foot section of Supremo pickles down there. So now we need to set some T-posts. I have just used 2 T-posts for a 10-foot piece of conduit in the past, but when these plants get loaded down with cucumbers, it can make that conduit sag a little bit. So I'm going to play it safe because I got plenty of posts and do 3 here. We'll put 1 in the middle for some extra support. So now we got our 3 T-posts in the ground. I didn't drive those down too far, just about 8 inches or so, which only takes about 4 or 5 licks with a T-post driver, unless you've got weenie arms. Now when you're doing this, you don't want to put your first and last post exactly 10 foot apart. You want to put them a hair bit closer than that because you want that piece of conduit to sit nice and tight between those posts. And so now you can see what I'm talking about. We use 1 1/4 PVC fittings. We've got a T right here in the middle, and then we've got an elbow on the ends, and this puppy's in here tight. I can't pull that out of there. That way, once these things get loaded down, we get some wind or storms, hopefully it shouldn't go anywhere. So now we just roll out 10 foot of this trellis netting and zip tie it to our T-post and the conduit. Now if you've never used this stuff, you might think, oh, that looks like that would be messy and hard to work with. It does look like that, but I promise you it's really easy to work with, really easy to fold it out and get it up on these T-posts. So that's what it looks like when the trellis netting is hung, and there's really no such thing as adding too many zip ties. Up top here, I think I put 8, but I can always come back in the future and add more if it starts to sag a little bit. So now I just need to trim this up, clean it up a little bit on the ends. You will notice it's kind of bunched up a little bit at the bottom there. I should have used some taller T-posts, that way I could utilize the entire width of my trellis netting, but I'm not going to go back and fix it now. I'll just cut some of that off there, get it nice and neat looking. And there we go, nice and neat and pretty. I went ahead and ran some of those plants through the bottom rung of that trellis netting, start getting them trained to climb there. Now we just need to do the same thing with our Supremos down there. And now we're all finished. Got both of them done, and I'm really liking the way this looks. Yeah, we got a little bit of wasted space between those 2 varieties, but I kind of like having them separated out like that. Nice and neat, 10 foot for each. So that's my favorite way to trellis cucumbers at the moment, but certainly not the only way. You could also use that same system there minus the conduit up top. I did that for many years, but if you have a really good cucumber grow out, you're gonna get some sag in there. So I like having that top bar for support, and once you invest in that top bar, you basically have it forever. And a lot of people will opt to go with cattle panels as opposed to this trellis netting here. And cattle panels do work great. They're nice and sturdy and they last forever. But you start taking down some cattle panels in the middle of summer, you better make sure the preacher ain't around, because it can get aggravating, especially if you're doing it by yourself. So that's why I prefer this stuff, because the takedown and cleanup is easier. At 1/4 foot, we just roll this stuff up, throw it in the trash can, and then next time we need to trellis, we start with a new piece. So whatever trellis system you decide to use, make sure it's easy, something that doesn't require a lot of people to set up, and make sure it's repeatable. You don't want to be scrambling to buy supplies when you need to trellis your cucumbers. So invest in something that you can keep around. You just run out to your barn, your shed, or wherever, grab what you need, and you can throw it up real quick like. So I hope you enjoyed the video today, and let me know in the comments below how you like to trellis your cucumbers. As always, you can find seeds for those varieties we showed today, along with a lot of the other products we use around here on our website at lazydogfarm.com. And if you want to see some bang up cucumbers growing in the middle of summer on a similar type trellis, watch this video right here. We'll show you some of the ones we had growing last year. So check that out. We'll see you next time right here at Lazy Dog Farm.